seconds.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? Hello and welcome to On the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepardson, and today is Wednesday, April the 6th, 2022, and this is another episode of OTP Tuesday on a Wednesday. We're going to get into that here in just a second, but first, I want to let you all know that this episode is brought to you courtesy of Wide Open Wi-Fi. We talked about this on Monday at Big Buck. You have seen at both rounds Wide Open Wi-Fi everywhere that you can see in the pit area. What Wide Open Wi-Fi does is it takes a place that would otherwise not have any reception and they give you Wi-Fi access throughout the weekend. So this weekend, they're going to be set up at Camp Coker once again. So there was a lot that went into this. I just want to let you guys know. It had to be hardwired into the actual property. That signal then gets broadcast off the wireless antennas that you see out and about throughout the parking areas with the tape and the generator and everything. And you see basically an antenna on a pole. That is Wide Open Wi-Fi. What is that? It is taking the signal and broadcasting it for you to use. So they're all linked together just like Wi-Fi or wireless routers, wireless APs in a building transmit the signal throughout the building. It is transmitting that signal throughout the pits. So you can have full access to the internet this weekend. All it takes is going to wideopenwifi.com. There you can learn all about the equipment, everything that is used, and you will also be able to sign up for your pass for the weekend. The great thing about it is if you sign up now, you don't have to wait in line. You don't have to fool with it once you get there. You can go ahead and pre-order it online now, get your access code, and you will show up at the race already having internet, already having service, so you can go straight to fishing or swimming or zip lining or riding the track, whatever you want to do. You will already have your internet access. So go to wideopenwifi.com. It'll have a breakdown of the prices for the weekend. It is only $20 for one day, $36 for 2 days, or $51 for the full event. So I assume if you're getting there on a Friday, you want Wi-Fi throughout the weekend, you can get the full event price at $51. But it gets even better than that because all you have to do is get some buddies involved and you can get it even cheaper per person. It is 25% off if you buy 4 devices for one full event, and it is 30% off if you buy 5 devices for one full event. So if you only want it on your phone, find 3 other people or 4 other people that also only want it on their phone, and you're all going to save money. Like we mentioned, to get it for a full event before, $51. If you get 4 people to go in with you, or there's 4 of you total, then it is only $38 and some change. If you get 5 people all together, then you're only paying $35 and some change. So that means per person, you all are saving almost $20, and you're having Wi-Fi all weekend. You can watch all the TikToks that you want. You can send all the Snapchats that your heart's desire. As we mentioned on Monday, you can fire up the Tinder machine, throw your distance down to a mile, and see who else is seeking romance that has wide open Wi-Fi. Because if they don't have wide open Wi-Fi and you set your distance to a mile, you're not going to see anybody because they're not going to have service. You're going to have service because you have wide open Wi-Fi. So thank you to them. Check them out, wideopenwifi.com. There's a map of the coverage area so you can make sure that you know exactly where your internet is going to work. And it'll probably work a little bit outside of that if we're being honest, but it's got the area of what they're covering for the weekend. Check it out. It may come in handy. It's super cool stuff. wideopenwifi.com. Anyway, got a lot going on this episode. This is actually a really fun episode. This is probably the most fun that I've had recording an episode in quite some time of OTP Tuesday because we're joined by a couple really cool people. First off, we got a new sponsor of the show, Zach Tussel. He is a financial advisor with Raymond James, which is an investment firm, teaching you and showing you and managing your money. So if you want to start an investment account, Zach will be the guy to do it. He is out there racing next to us every single weekend, actually traveling more than most of us to go to all sorts of different races. So I don't want to give too many spoilers. I will let Zach tell the story himself, but what a fun conversation that I had with him, and look forward to working with that in the future. My thought on that whole thing has always been support the people that support the sport that we all know and love. Money is a giant thing in this sport, and we're trying to bring more money into it. So that being said, the only way that we're going to see that change is if we take our money and support the people that are in the industry. That's why, like Brown's RV Superstore, you see them everywhere, and that's because they put money into racing. So now, if I ever buy an RV, I'm going to Brown's RV Superstore because I see them at every track, every race series that I go to. Similarly, Zach Tussel, he's going to all these races. He's racing too. He's racing Camp Coker this weekend. He raced National Enduro this year. He raced down at Daytona this year. It's cool to see someone that is involved in our sport and is supporting our sport to be able to go and spend your money with them. And there's actually a lot to the whole financial advisory thing that I didn't know, and I'm going to go ahead and assume that a lot of people didn't know. So I think it was cool to hear about his experiences, and then towards the end, we did talk about what he does for a living and about how he can help you. So that was a really fun conversation with a buddy of mine, Zach Tussel. So cool to do that. And then also Korie Steede. Korie Steede coming fresh off of her first career WXC victory. She now shares the points lead with Taylor Jones. One of the most electrifying, interesting, and cool person in the sport. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not just saying that just to say it. I've been around Korie for quite some time now. She raced the Full Gasses before. That's really where I got to know her at and meet her and hang out with her. And then last year at the races, she was always around the Babbitt's pits because that's who she rode for. And she's just a super cool girl, super talented, super fast, super energetic. The conversation that we had was great. I enjoyed it fully, and I think that you guys will as well. She's doing all sorts of stuff. It is crazy what Korie Steede gets herself into, but last week she got herself into the lead and the win in the WXC class at the Tiger Run, a.k.a. Bigger Buck GNCC, and shares the points lead now, like we mentioned. So it was awesome to catch up with her and hear a little bit more of her story and all the things that she's doing for herself. It's a really cool conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it just as much as I did. Before we get started into that, I want to say a big thank you to Beta Motorcycles. They are the official manufacturer of On the Pipe podcast. Beta Motorcycles has been family owned and operated since 1905. They manufacture the finest enduro, trials, and dual sport motorcycles that are known for their premium quality and rideability. Beta Motorcycles are the best looking bikes on the market and back it up with their superior performance. Head over to betausa.com for more information on their available models and to find a dealer near you to get yours today. Can't say enough about Beta. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. I encourage you, go check them out. See, they have the widest variety of engine sizes and displacements and configurations to choose from. So go check it out. See what the Betas look like. Read a little bit about their specs. They're super sick. I don't think I've ever gotten more compliments on a stock bike than I do my Beta 300 RR. So look them up, do your research, see what you got. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer anything that I can about mine and see where there's a dealer near you so you can go put your hands on one as well. Armor Graphics. Our buddies over at Armor Graphics, they're here locally in North Carolina. Great people, great product, great graphics. If you want some Armor Graphics, go to armorgraphics.com. Use promo code OTP20. That is going to save you 20% off of your cost. So as inflation and the prices of everything is going up, your price for your graphics can go down 20% on your next order if you order through armorgraphics.com and use promo code OTP20. They've been with us since the beginning. They also do screen printing, so if you need shirts or anything made, they make our OTP shirts. And like I said, really cool people to work with and really cool graphics to run. So check them out at Armored Graphics or at armoredgraphics.com. Now, what a couple days it's been. If you listen to the Monday show, then you know I had a little bit of a life update for everybody, and I was scared. First of all, I was scared doing it. Obviously, when it's your livelihood, you think about it a lot, but I was also scared about putting it out there. I almost didn't want to talk publicly about it ever, or at least like for the next few months. It was kind of a last-minute decision to go ahead and lay it all out there, and it was a little bit rushed, so I hope the things that I said kind of came off clearly. I didn't really have a plan. I just kind of started talking, but I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I got it out there because I've gotten more messages than I can count, more support than I deserve, and more feedback than I would have ever expected. So to each and every single one of you that listen to that show, and especially the ones that have reached out, thank you so much. It means the world to me. It means the world to me that you all listen. It means the world to me that so many people shared that episode with some nice words to say or just sharing clips of the episode. I mean, I've gotten Snapchats, Instagrams, Facebook. It's surreal. It is awesome. And anywhere that I was on the fence about all this, I think I'm completely off the fence. I think I'm pumped on this. I think it's what I'm supposed to do. I didn't really want to talk about it because it sounds silly. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just sitting here talking to myself, and you happen to be listening. And I threw away. I didn't throw away. I left a career, put a career on pause to focus on this. And that is because I think it's worth it. And I really think that this podcast and this reach that it is growing into can really make a difference in the world of off-road. I think you've seen things happen the same way, and even with new series and new races, I think they go back to that same way and try to imitate and duplicate, and we keep going in circles down the same path. And I'm not saying by any I'm not trying to sound bigger than I am or anything like that, but I firmly do believe that more media, more attention, getting to know riders, getting to know their backgrounds, getting to know what's going on, and holding people accountable for things. There's never been any of those things ever in this sport before. And I was doing it to an extent that this thing grew to the point where it really made me think, what if this had my full attention? What if we could make it work? What if the time that I'm spending putting money in somebody else's pocket working for someone where they make more money per hour off of my labor than I make, what if I took that same effort and put it into doing this podcast? Where could it go, and where could the sport go? And granted, I'm not saying that this podcast alone can change anything, but I hope this can inspire more things to happen, more things to fall into place, the sport to grow, more eyeballs to get here. It's, like I said before, a rising tide raises all ships, and right now, buddy, I'm out there setting up water pumps trying to fill this thing up. So thank you so much to everybody that listens. I know I've gotten reached out from a lot of different riders and fans and all sorts of people. So it means the world to me. I don't take any of that lightly. I take all of that to heart. I sincerely appreciate it. I would not be here and I would not be trying to do this if it wasn't for all of you. So hopefully we can shine a spotlight on some things, and hopefully we can grow the sport. And my biggest goal here is to change the way the sport operates, change the way. And I know these are very ambitious goals, and I probably sound like I'm on a pedestal. I probably am coming across completely different than I intend to come across. So if that is the case, I'm sorry. I promise this is coming from a place of meaning. But I want to change the way that the pay rates work. That's the biggest thing. You look at this sport compared to other sports, and it is not even comparable. To win one ping pong event, one professional ping pong event pays $15,000 to win. If you win a professional ping pong association tournament, you win $15,000. If you flip through ESPN and you see the people bowling on TV, if they are one of the people that made it to the TV show, it's a minimum of $22,000, and I think the winner gets $50,000, maybe even more. The Bassmaster Classic every year pays out $500,000 to the winner. I looked up professional badminton tournaments. Professional badminton tournaments pay $10,000 to win. And so that's why I'm doing this. The premier organization, premier race series, the top of the line here pays $1,250 to win a race. And so that is my focus. Local series pay $500 to the pro class. It's crazy. You look at the NFL, you look at the NBA, you look at the MLB, they are regulated as to how much they have to pay out to their athletes. So it has to be between 49 and 51%. So of the total revenue that comes in, 49 to 51% of that has to be paid back out to the athletes. I would hate to see the percentage that is being paid back to the athletes right now. So that being said, there was some topics that were discussed on the last show that I also got messages about. I want to set the record straight. I'm not here to make enemies. I'm not here to bad talk anyone. And no matter what comes up, this will always be, and don't let me misconstrue this, and don't let me get any of this wrong. This will always be a Riders First podcast. In any situation, we're sticking up for the riders. That is the point of this, is to give the riders a bigger voice. That is the goal. There hasn't been something where a rider can get their thoughts or their personality or anything out there like there is with On the Pipe podcast. And that is something that I pride myself in, and that is something that I expect to grow and grow and grow and grow to the point where when these issues come up, these discussions come up, riders' voices will be heard. The people that are out there risking life and limb, their voices will be heard, their voices will be considered, and it's not even the pro riders, it's the amateur riders as well. So I definitely don't want to create any issues with any riders, and so just wanted to throw that out there, that I know a lot of people listen to this show now. A lot of pro riders listen, a lot of amateur riders listen. I couldn't be more thankful for that, and that is why I just wanted to get it out there that no matter what, we got the riders' backs. We're trying to make this sport safer. We're trying to make this sport more profitable. We're trying to give this sport more exposure, and that is the sole purpose of this. And that is why I think it is important enough to demand my full-time attention. And as I mentioned before, kind of bet on myself and bet on helping this thing grow and share the knowledge and share the insights with you all. So that was my unplanned rant that I'm sure went way too long, but I hope any of that registered and I hope any of it made sense. And yeah, I'm just a guy that really likes dirt bikes, and I have a profound fascination with people that can excel in anything that they try. And that is why when you look at the world of off-road, I think the level of commitment and the level of talent it takes to reach the pinnacle of this sport is not reflected in the amount of recognition, praise, and payment that those riders get. If that makes any sense at all. That is my viewpoint on it. I think Caleb Russell, Stu Baylor, Thad Duvall, Jordan Ashburn, Trevor Bollinger, Craig DeLong, Josh Toth, Ben Kelly, the list goes on and on and on. Rachel Archer, Mackenzie Tricker, Taylor Jones, Korie Steede, Rachel Goodish, Brandy Richards. All of these people going out and winning a race, I think, takes much more discipline, much more time, much more talent, and obscenely more risk than winning a ping pong tournament. And I think more people spend money on dirt bikes and dirt bike parts, accessories, tires than people spend on ping pong paddles and ping pong balls and ping pong tables. I could be completely wrong about that, but that is my assessment. I mean, I don't even think I know anybody that has a ping pong table. So I know a lot of people that have dirt bikes. Basically, the point that I'm getting at is why does it pay more to win a ping pong game than it does to win every race of a season, racing at the highest level of racing that you can get in this country? That is the question we will continue to ask, and that is the question we will continue to dive deep into. Shout out to an Oculus Quest 2, because the coolest game on there is, in fact, a ping pong game. It's almost better than real ping pong. So I have an Oculus, and pretty much all I do on it is play ping pong. It's pretty cool. But yeah. Anyway, enough of getting sidetracked. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to On the Pipe podcast. I am so incredibly stoked. I've had a couple days to let it all register, let it all soak in. My notes app in my phone is filling up quick. Just wait till you see what we got coming. I just want to say that. Might even be some racing stuff in the future. But super stoked, super glad that you have joined me here, and super done saying the same thing over and over again. We're ready to get the show started. OTP Tuesday on a Wednesday. This will be the last OTP Tuesday on a Wednesday, though, because now I have all day Tuesday to prepare for OTP Tuesday. So, thanks for being here. All right, so now we are going to go to our first guest of the evening. Zach Tussel is a financial advisor. He works with Raymond James Financial. He is also an avid dirt bike rider. He's raced just about every series. So it's cool to get him on, to be able to talk with him. Actually, Zach will be the newest member of the OTP crew as far as getting involved with the show, and we will talk more about that going forward. But I think he's a lot of services to offer that could help you and help people you know, and we're going to talk about his racing career and then get into that stuff later on. But right now, I want to welcome Zach Tussel to the show. Zach, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time, and sorry that it took a while to get to this point, but I'm pumped to be able to talk with you. I know we chatted a couple weeks ago, so it's cool to have you on the show and hear a little bit more about what you do and where you've been racing at.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been following the show for a while, and I never really thought I'd be a guest on the show. I thought it was pros only, but I'm happy to have an opportunity to talk about some amateur racing.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Big time amateur show now, OTP. We're pumping it. But I want to start off. I think you kind of have I think you have a very interesting story about how everything has led you to where you are now. So let's start at the very beginning. What brought you into dirt bikes? What got you into riding? What got you into racing? And what got you to North Carolina?
Yeah, so originally grew up in New Jersey, and my dad used to race dirt bikes back in the day. We'll call it, 70s and 80s. And we grew up racing in New Jersey. And when I say grew up, we really didn't have dirt bikes until age 12, I think. I was 12, my brother was 11, and it's just us two. So we had a shared dirt bike to start, and the first bike we ever had was a BW, a big wheel 80, and it was a Yamaha with the fat wheels on it. You know those ones?
Yeah.
And that was when we were kind of kids, maybe a little bit younger than that, 8 or 9. But then we got a Yamaha TTR 225, which was kind of the first full-size bike, and we were sharing that for a while. Kind of cut our teeth a little bit on that. Pretty heavy motorcycle to learn on. But we had a little bit of land behind our house in New Jersey, and it was an old dump. It was actually, they dumped cars, and, it was a landfill, basically. Oh, wow. And, yeah, so there's glass and all kinds of things out there, and Chad and I had a track set up out in the woods, and that's how we kind of learned how to ride, and then transitioned into racing motocross up in New Jersey. We were part of the District 6 series up there, so we'd go around tracks in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, a little bit in Maryland, and just do motocross racing strictly. So that's kind of how we started. And I'd say the closest track to my house up in New Jersey is Englishtown. They call it Raceway Park, and they have the Kawasaki Race of Champions there every year, and it was a pretty big to do, back in the day, and it really still is.
Dang, that's awesome. 2 shared bikes to start off your dirt bike career. How much fighting was back and forth between you guys, and who got the most seat time? That just sounds like a lot of fighting. Yeah,
it wasn't that bad because we had a pretty strict kind of lap time schedule. So I'd go do 4 laps as fast as I could, and then we'd have a stopwatch, and then Chad would do 4 laps as fast as he could. And then we also had once we started getting more bikes, 12, 13, 14 years old, we had a little mini bike track. But the area in New Jersey, I mean, you just can't start up a 450 or a 250 or a YZ85 or anything like that. I mean, it was fairly residential.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I could barely get a PlayStation controller away from my brother, so I couldn't imagine trying to wrestle a dirt bike away from him.
Yeah. It was tough.
So, obviously, growing up in New Jersey, racing moto, what brought you to North Carolina?
So, my parents are kind of in the process of retiring down in South Carolina, and years ago, they had purchased a piece of property down in South Carolina with intentions to retire down there. But then I started going to school down in South Carolina at originally Coastal Carolina, and then transitioned to University of South Carolina in Columbia. So I'm a Gamecock. But that's kind of what got me down here full-time when I was 18.
Okay. Sweet. And so when you came down here, obviously going to college, that's the main focus. Were you still riding and racing during that time, or doing the college thing?
I wasn't for the first 2 years over at Coastal Carolina, over near Myrtle Beach. But then once I transitioned over to University of South Carolina in Columbia, I had much better access to, we call it the farm, and the farm is in Union, South Carolina, so not too far away from Columbia, South Carolina, and in the same county as Big Buck GNCC, which is kind of how the whole off-road thing started. And off-road is much more popular down here than it is up north, and I'm not sure why that is, but it kind of naturally just gravitated toward it because that's what was around and available.
So was your first off-road race Big Buck?
Gosh, first off-road race, I want to say it was a Mid-East somewhere in South Carolina.
Gotcha. I was about to say...
it could even have been the North Carolina NCHS near, I think they call it the Brown Jug, or it's one of them right in Union there.
Oh, I gotcha. That's what I was about to say. So my first race ever was Big Buck. I was about to say, if your first race ever was Big Buck, that'd be pretty cool. But either way, it is absolutely cool. And looking at, through your Instagram and everything, you've had a busy year this year already. You've already raced moto, you've raced woods, you raced National Enduro, you raced down at Daytona for Ricky Carmichael Supercross, Carolina XC. Which one has been the most fun so far, and what all do you have on your schedule for the rest of the year?
Yeah, the last couple of years, I've been trying to do the Ryan Sipes schedule. And,
that's exactly what I was thinking while I was looking at it.
I really look up to the guy, and what he's done in the last 3-5 years with just trying to run all the different series. I think it's so cool because every discipline that you get involved with, you learn different things from different disciplines, and it's so often at the track that you run across guys, and normally guys that run GNCCs, they only run woods races, and they're usually 2-hour or 3-hour woods races. You go to a motocross track, you won't find another guy on the line. Like at that Ricky Carmichael Supercross event, I'm the only guy in the 25 plus class with a big tank on the Cowie.
Yes.
And we're racing Supercross, and guys are giving me weird looks. But it feels good to you push your bike out to the line, in front of 20 guys from the first moto, and they're looking at you all strange because you got the big tank on.
Yeah, what's this guy doing? How did you end up doing against everybody at Daytona?
Ended up 13th overall out of, I think it was 30 guys or 34 guys. Not bad. The top 10 in the 25 plus, it's pretty they're either pros now or they're ex-pros. Michael Lessie won our class, if that gives you an idea of the competition. And I think I was the last guy not to get lapped by Michael Lessie. So I don't know if that's anything to brag about, but I was pretty happy with 13th.
Dude, absolutely. That 25-plus class is always stacked because, like you said, pretty much everyone in the top 10 you know of, whether they used to race or still race or have brothers that shine lasers and eyes.
Yep.
Yeah. So, how was that experience? Did you go to the GNCC at all down there, or just hung out in Daytona?
It's hard to get around to both and do the whole thing because the Supercross, we went and watched the pros Saturday night, and then the amateurs start Sunday, and it bleeds a little bit into Monday as well. So it's just a lot of time commitment because you're trying to get down there after work on Friday, and then try to be back for a half day on Monday. So
yeah, and I'd be willing to bet that anybody else down there racing at Ricky Carmichael's Supercross did not race the Sumter National Enduro. So Sumter, you get 5th in Open A, 62 overall out of like 4 million people or however many there was down there. What do you change your bikes? I've always wondered this because I know pros have different bikes for all sorts of different stuff, but do you change anything about your setup, or do you have a moto bike and a woods bike? Like, because I don't think you can get much polar opposite between Sumter National Enduro and Ricky Carmichael Supercross.
Yeah, so it's a different setup, but it's really not that hard to get to. I just take the bark busters off for the motocross race, and I turn in the clickers a lot, and then do the opposite for woods days. So it's not too hard to convert it.
See, you hear that, kids? You don't need separate bikes, different things. Just you need a flathead screwdriver.
Yep. My dad always stressed to us when we were growing up that, the suspension and the amount of money that the families spend on, racing and the motorcycles in general, it doesn't make the kid any faster. If the talent's there, the talent will bleed through, whether you're on really good stuff or not so great stuff. And, I don't think, for myself or my brother, the goal was ever professional dirt bike racer. So the goal was always college.
Yeah. And now part-time professional fun haver.
Yes, exactly.
But no, so I did want to ask you too, you got Dylan Wolf. It looks like you dragged him out into the woods. He's been racing a couple off-road races. He was at Full Gas this past weekend in the Pro-Am class, and he raced down there at Sumter. What's it like because he was a moto guy too, and now he's dabbling into the off-road world. How much influence do you have on that?
Yeah, a ton of influence. He's getting me to race a little bit more motocross, and I'm getting him to race a little bit more in the woods. And he's finding kind of along the same lines as I did that off-road racing down in North and South Carolina is very, very popular. So you kind of ride whatever's available, and I'm trying to get him on the Ryan Sipes schedule as well.
Yeah. So that has always been in the back of my mind, and that was my plan for this year, especially with the deal with Beta and getting the bike from them. Is I kind of wanted to do as many different series and as many different disciplines as possible. So looking through your Instagram again, I was just like, man, like that's got to be so cool. Because you've raced, like I said, Carolina XC, Zach Hayes' new series. You've raced National Enduro. You've raced at Budds Creek. You raced J-Day, NCHSA, Arena Cross, Mid-East. You're kind of all over the place, man. So what has been probably the most fun series or the most fun format that you've raced?
I'd say format-wise, hands down, J-Day series up in Mass and Connecticut. Those races, it is the perfect combination of woods and motocross, which is kind of, where I am at this point. They're 30-minute motos, so you get really good seat time. There's not a ton of waiting around. That's one drawback to me about motocross is, you better come prepared with a camper because you're doing more camping than you are riding. So
yeah.
But yeah, I like a lot what Zach Hayes is doing with the Carolina XC, and I'm definitely on board with that series, trying to help him as much as I can and get it off the ground, because I'd love to see, J-Day in the South.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of on that same mindset as far as, because you look at the J-Day, like you mentioned earlier, that off-road riding was a lot bigger down south than it is up north, and that was the first thing that came to mind was like, well, J-Day, if you look at their numbers, I looked at it one year and they had like over 900 riders at every single round, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, well, you got to also look at the sheer amount of people up in the New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut area. There's more riders up there simply because there's just sheer numbers. So it's a concentration of folks up there.
Yeah, and so for people that are fans of that format, now that I've made a life change into doing this thing, be on the lookout for some news coming soon. Didn't want to get into those details quite yet. But Zach, what do you have on schedule for the rest of your year? What races are kind of must-hit races for the rest of the season that you want to be at?
Yeah, so I'm signed up for the Devil's Ridge or Dragonback. What is it called up in Virginia there? The National Enduro.
Dragon's Back.
That's
a fun one. That's a fun place.
I've never been there, and honestly, I've never done any National Enduro except for Sumter, because it's right here in our backyard. But I'm pretty excited to go up there because I've heard a lot of good things about that track and the people that run it and just the layout. So I've got that on the schedule May 1st, and then really there's not much I put on the schedule. I just, if there's time for it, we'll add it to the schedule. I usually try to get up to Buds or Muddy Creek or wherever they have a Pro-Am day. For the National Motocross Series, we try to do one of those a year. Mm-hmm. And then just some Mid-East rounds and maybe a North Carolina round. We'll see.
Are you gonna go to Des Nations this year?
I am. Yeah. So that'll be a spectating weekend, but yep. We'll be up there for that. And we're actually going up the week before Wolf is getting married up in Minnesota, as he says it. And
so we'll Minnesota, eh?
Yeah, everything, eh? We'll be up there the weekend before, and then we'll be up there for Des Nations the weekend after. So we've got to get the camping situation figured out there. And I've never been to a Des Nations, and I've heard good things about it, so excited to see that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I am too. The thing that stinks and that I'm trying to work through is there's also a GNCC that weekend. So I got to see how many obligations I have at GNCC, but it's not that often that Des Nations comes to America, so I'm trying to get there.
I think you can get somebody to cover for you at GNCC.
Yeah, someone with a camera, hit me up. But so National Enduro, it's coming up in a few weeks here. Did you already got a row and everything? What row are you on?
I'm on row number 16, so that's the earliest row I've ever had for a National Enduro. The Sumter one is just so popular that, we can never get an early row, and we normally have, 4 or 5, 6 guys that do it with us, so we all try to get one row, and we're generally, around 100.
Yeah. Sumter is a roll of the dice, and sometimes your dice go off the table and you never see them again.
Yeah, you can ask for row 30 and get row 100 like I do.
Yeah, or ask for row any and say, sorry, we're sold out.
Yes. And then I've got snowshoe on the schedule as well. I forgot about that one.
Oh, yeah. Snowshoe's always a good one.
I like snowshoe because we start on the pavement, and I feel I have a slight advantage as a street bike rider at the start.
Yeah, not only that, but there's a lot of fire roads, so if you like going wide open.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the Mid-East this weekend, we ran it down in Union, Lawrence, South Carolina. They had a couple of very high-speed sections, and, I've never had the 450 in fifth gear before, and
Oof.
You were holding it for, 10 seconds wide open, and I've never been up that high on this bike so far.
Do you wear any type of GPS watch or heart rate monitor or anything? Do you know what your top speed was?
I do, and I have in the past, but I wasn't wearing it for that race.
Oh, no.
I've had my 450 Yamaha up at 85 miles an hour before, so
Dang.
that gives you an idea of how fast these bikes really do go.
Yeah, so one of our mutual buddies, Tyler Bruton, last year at Snowshoe was the first time I had ever missed a snowshoe since I started riding dirt bikes. And but the year before that, we were all up there, and Tyler was racing and talking about the track and the roads and stuff. And I was like, how fast did you get up to? How fast did you go? He said, I don't know. Google how fast a KTM 300 can go with stock gearing, and that's how fast I went.
Yep. And there's sections like that up there as well where they drop you out onto a paved road and you just hold it wide open.
Yeah. But that is still like one of the funnest races that I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's very technical. It's a weird mix because it's a lot of man-made stuff, and then there's some fire roads with culvert pipes in them and things like that. But then you'll drop into a section where it's very technical, first, second gear over muddy logs and roots, things like that. It's everything.
Yep. Yeah, the fire roads just get some air flowing through your radiators. That's all it is.
Right.
Man, going to all these races, going to all these tracks, I was going to ask one question, but I'm going to make it a two-part question because you've been to so many places and ridden so many places. I was going to ask, what is your favorite track overall? But instead, I'm going to ask, what is your favorite off-road track and what is your favorite motocross track?
That's a tough one. Budds Creek would definitely have to be up there as far as motocross track. There was a track up in Pennsylvania, top of Pennsylvania, right on the New York border, called Miles Mountain. Mm-hmm. We used to ride that one as a kid and through high school. And I mean, just black topsoil dirt. They did a great job with it. There's a lot of good tracks. It's hard to pick one. It's more about the prep, I'd say, that day, and it just makes it that much better.
Sweet.
But off-road, I really enjoy the Sumter format and National Enduro in general, just because you don't ride the same track twice.
And nobody has seen it. I like that.
Exactly, yeah. You can't walk it. As far as the GNCC goes, I really do enjoy Camp Coker. I also really like Florida, so I'm definitely a sand guy. Yeah.
See, you might be the first person I've ever heard that says you like Florida.
Yeah, it's kind of more motocrossy because it gets so whooped out.
Yeah.
And it's generally not too tight, so you can kind of flow around. The palmetto routes are weird and strange to ride on, but once you kind of get the feeling of them, they're really not all that unpredictable. I don't know. Florida's cool. I'd say if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Camp Coker though, because it's in South Carolina. It's more the terrain that we're used to, and it still gets rough and sandy, but there's some clay mixed in.
Yeah, and I will say, I want to go back on that one real quick. Florida, I love the sand. I prefer riding sand more than most everything. I love the sand. I love the Florida track. I think it's fun riding the whooped out sections. But like for a lap or maybe at my own pace, for 2 hours to 3 hours, it's just so grueling. That's when it starts to wear on you. But I do like the track and I like riding it.
The 3 hour compared to the 2 hour, not everyone kind of gives enough credit to the guys that do run the 3 hour, because it's a whole different animal. The 3 hour in that third hour is like racing a whole nother 2 hour race.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion.
And so I can imagine that. I can attest to that. So believe it or not, I've never raced a 3 hour GNCC because I've always been tied up. I was a filmer for them. I was an announcer for them. I was the broadcast producer for Racer TV. So now I got the OTP stuff. I'm not going to turn any heads racing the 3 hour. So I feel like I got a lot more going for me to cover it, film it, take pictures of it, talk about it. So I still haven't raced a 3 hour, but when I was working for Racer TV, they actually let me race in the mornings, and that was when there was a 125 BC class. So I bought a 125 specifically for it, and we took off pretty much towards the front, but it was like one of the last rows to not get lapped by the girls. So it basically worked out that however long that the average lap time was, that's how long over 2 hours I was going to be. So like most every single race, it was like 2 hours, 30 minutes, 2 hours, 40 minutes. So I've gotten close, but I've never actually raced a 3 hour.
Yeah, 2 hours and 40 minutes, 2 hours and 50 minutes. That's all, the pros like Josh or Caleb or anybody will actually run. Sometimes they cut those guys a little early, don't they?
Yeah, so yeah. They take basically after the first lap is complete, or it might be the first 2 laps. I think it's the first 2 laps. They go ahead and average it and make that determination then. And so sometimes track gets faster, sometimes the track gets slower. But yeah, that determination of how many laps are made after the second lap, I want to say.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I've ran a lot of the GNCCs over the years, and we actually did the series for 3 years in a row. And I came out 7th, and 7th in the Open A class. So
consistent.
Consistency is definitely my thing. I was wanting to break that top 5, but every year it seems like new, younger, faster guys come up, and I get another year older, and we're not on the program, so to speak. So to reach that level of the sport, you really need to be almost full time.
Oh, 100%. But that being said, chasing the GNCCs around, I think is something that everybody needs to do at least once, because it is the premier series, and kind of going to all of them, no matter how you're doing, you're getting better as a rider for sure. But I've done the complete series twice. I've been following it and doing my own thing longer than that, but I raced it twice for points. And yeah, I think that's an experience that everyone should try if you like racing dirt bikes.
Yeah, it's a combination of driving and getting there, and walking the track the best you can, and then figuring out how to go fast, but then also make the equipment last. And it's a big balance game. Especially when you can't just go back to Yamaha and throw your bike under the tent and say, no good today. You want to, when you've driven all the way to Indiana, you definitely want to finish as an amateur, because you put in the time and you put in the money and the effort.
Yeah, and get new tires, and most likely, if you're fast, get bibs, because when you make a 14-hour drive and blow a tire on the first lap, it's not a fun day.
Right. Yeah, I've actually changed tires and went back out and finished GNCCs. You claw your way back the best you can, but when you're racing for points throughout the whole season, it's every race matters.
Yep, 100%. But so one thing that we kind of talked about at the beginning of this thing, and it was kind of a light bulb moment that happened a little while ago when we got to thinking, like, hey, you're at all these races, you're riding dirt bikes, you're obviously working a job throughout the week, but then planning your weekends around racing around dirt bikes. And then it kind of hit like, hey, this same community that is chasing these races with you and lining up on the lines next to you could also be the people that you're working with through the week at your job. So you're a financial advisor, and like I said, joining on with OTP. And so hopefully we can get some other riders coming towards you. But that's one of the big reasons I wanted to have you on, is to introduce you to people and let people hear that you're one of us. You're one of them. Like, this is a whole big family. You just happen to be able to help make people money for your day job and then go racing. So tell us a little bit about what you do. And I know that's not an elevator pitch, but just what do you do exactly?
Yeah, so I'm an advisor. Like you said, I work with Raymond James, and we're independent. We work right here out of Denver, North Carolina, which is just a suburb of Charlotte, right on Lake Norman, on a team with 2 other advisors here, and we're all independent, so we can help our clients, to the best of our ability, and There's no products or anything like that. But that's a big reason why I came to Raymond James initially. But right out of school, I went to work with New York Life in Charlotte, and it was a little bit constrictive, and you only really had maybe 5 or 6 things you could do for people, and to take a more holistic approach to financial planning overall, you just needed more tools and more licenses, and so that's what I did. And we get to help a lot of people, whether it's in the community here in Denver area or the racing community. And following the show, I really wanted to be involved as a sponsor, just because, exactly like you said, I mean, I do have a lot of clients at the track. Maybe 10, maybe 20% of my book of business is in and around the race course, and I'd like to see it be more than that. I want to get more involved and help people and work with people that are just like me and that enjoy riding motorcycles.
Yeah, and so I think one of the big parts about this is being able to talk through it and kind of explain it, because and I'll be completely honest, like, I kind of handle some investments on my own and do things myself and read up on stuff and all that. I kind of had now what I know is an ignorant outview on it. I figured financial advisor, like, you got to be a millionaire to have one of those, or you got to have a fully funded retirement plan or 401k to be able to go talk to a financial advisor. But that's not the case. Anyone can get involved with this.
Yeah, no, it's more of an attitude. So if you're wanting to save money, if you're wanting to better your financial situation, we can help you. We obviously can't help the people that don't have the means to save or don't have the investment mindset needed to be involved with the stock market or have those fluctuations. But yeah, there's not really a number on it. It's more of an attitude, and as I build my book of business, it's more of, I want to help the people that have that good attitude and want to be helped.
Yeah, and by that, it's kind of, you mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of like the whole don't invest more than you can afford to lose, because there are fluctuations in the market. Like, you could put a bunch of money in and the market goes down, well, your money goes down, but traditionally, over the time of history, it comes back up. So is that what you mean, the kind of fluctuations in the market and see your money going up and down? Or how do you best combat that with people that might be like kind of skeptical or don't have that investment mentality?
Yeah, we really lead with education. So we try to, just educate the client first and foremost of how the market works, and, make them understand that there will be fluctuation over the years, but it will always fluctuate higher. There's never been a time, you can't point to a time where the market has, gone down and stayed down. So people are naturally skeptical about the market because a lot of the racers and riders are more on the construction side and just not overly knowledgeable about the market. But that's why they need a trusted guy where, they can lean on me or somebody else and just know that, as long as they stay invested and stay the course, that everything will come back over time.
Yeah, and so going along with that, I know from talking with you, a lot of your clients you're handling their retirement plans. So it's people at the later stages in life. Here's the money that I've saved up over my career of working. Is what you do only for people in that retirement bracket, or how important is it to get started in this early?
Oh man, the earlier the better. I tell people, the best time to start investing is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So no matter if you're 20, 30, 50, 60 years old, bigger clients are obviously, I'd say older people generally have larger accounts just because they're getting closer toward retirement years. But, from the work that we do, we can generally affect younger people more than we can affect older people, because it's an education, number one, and then it's a mindset for kind of the rest of your life.
So kind of like you were saying, or kind of like we were talking about earlier, you're one of us. Me, I'd be a lot less likely to trust the old guy in a suit that's driving his Porsche to the golf course every weekend versus you. I mean, you're a young guy, you're racing dirt bikes, you're doing the same things that we're doing, you're taking your money and spending it doing the same hobby that we are all doing. So I think it's cool what you're doing. And kind of, how did you get into this, or how did you learn about it? Like, your background, did you come from was this taught to you by your parents, or is it just kind of something that you've developed into, or how did you get to this point?
Yeah, no, definitely not taught from the parents. I grew up working construction with my dad, similar to a lot of racers and riders out there. And, we'd go in and we'd work on buildings in New York City doing cooling towers. And so we'd be on the roof of these buildings in the wintertime because they couldn't shut down they're basically glorified or very large air conditioning units. So they couldn't shut down the AC in the summer, so we'd work in the wintertime. And we'd always, whether we're having lunch or we're riding the train in or driving the work truck in, we'd see these guys in suits. And I always, curious with Dad, what do those guys do? Why am I dressed like this and they're dressed like that? And, why are all the pretty girls in New York City talking to them and they're not talking to us?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, if you go to school and you study hard, you don't have to work outside your whole life. And I think he kind of beat it into me pretty young that I didn't want to work outside my whole life. So I went to school and studied finance and economics because that's what those guys were doing. They were working on Wall Street. And I just naturally took a liking to it. I mean, there's not much not to like about this job. The market changes constantly every day, so there's always something new to learn about, and you're making money. So whether you're making money for yourself or you're making money for your clients, I mean, it's a cool feeling, and it's always exciting. It's exciting every single day.
See, so just like that, a guy like me, I don't got to go learn the whole market and learn the ins and outs and where to go. I just need a guy like you to do it.
Yeah, it was it's kind of a process going to school, and then you got to get all your licenses and certifications, and a couple of these tests, the Series 7 and the Series 66, you study for maybe 6 or 7 months just to get one certification. So it's kind of a process, but you get to know a lot more than just your average investor.
Yep, for sure. And man, like I said, I appreciate the heck out of your time. I know I kept you for a while now, but this was something that I wanted to get the full story of who you are, where you came from, and what you can do, or what you do, and how you can help. And I think that is what we wanted to get across to people the most. And like I said earlier, you don't have to be a millionaire to go talk to a financial advisor. And not to get into specifics, but basically your pay is performance-based. Am I correct?
Yeah, we make it's a percentage on the account value. So the more I can grow the accounts that I have, the more money that I'll end up making for myself. So if the market takes a turn and does really bad, and I'm a bad manager that year, I make less money. And if I do really well, I make more money. So I've got skin in the game, just like you do. Kind of like the Fisher Investments commercial when they say, "Oh, we do better when you do better." That's exactly how it is here.
Cool. So that's awesome. That's good to know. And last thing here, how can people get in touch with you?
I'm pretty available, whether it's Facebook or if you just type my name into Google. I mean, everything will come up. I live a fairly open. I don't know how to put this, but I'm very accessible. I make myself accessible through LinkedIn and Facebook and all the different platforms, so that it's not hard to find my phone number and call me and get in here for an appointment. Or we can even do a lot of stuff virtual these days. So whether you're in Texas or California, I mean, we have clients all over the country.
Yep. So cool. And so everyone listening, if this is something that could interest you, I know we kind of talked on a broad scale, but if you want to see how this could directly benefit you and your financial situation, if you want to know how to spell his name, it's going to be wherever you're listening to this at. It's written in the title. You can find him on Instagram, Tussel_306. As he mentioned, Facebook, Instagram, Google him, find his email, and I'll throw those details out too so people have it. But Zach, I can't thank you enough for your time, man. I really appreciate it. Are you going to be at Camp Coker this weekend or no?
I'm thinking about going. I'm not sure if we're going to run the 2-hour or the 3-hour, but it'll be a game time decision for me.
All right, cool. Well, looking forward to see you out there, regardless, whether it's the morning or the afternoon or the fishing tournament the night before, whenever.
Thanks, T-Shep, and thanks for having me on the show.
All right, man. Thank you. Joining us now, coming off of their first ever career WXC victory at the GNCCs, the new points leader in the WXC class, Korie Steede. Korie, how's everything going today?
Howdy. So great. I'm just having the best day at Toast's house. We're working on some tracks, about to go send it.
Yeah, so what's up with that? You get there, say hey, and then he just puts you to work.
Yeah, man. They pulled me out of here at like 6:30 a.m. I'm rolling out of bed. I'm like, what the hell, guys? And they just throw a shovel at me. Get me working. Come on, man.
At least you can get the track all dialed in. So are you guys riding there the rest of the week before Camp Coker, or when are you going down there?
Yeah, I think we're going to ride here today, and then I'm going to go test with Tom a little bit, set the bike up, and then I'll head to the race on Friday.
Hell yeah. Well, speaking of races, last weekend, me being who I am as a person, I was a little bit fashionably late to the race, but I got there just in time as the race was ending, and I see Brandy Richards in the overall, as I'm watching the score watching live timing on the way to the track, and I'm going to the finish line to get a video of the finish, and all of a sudden I hear them screaming that you're coming, and I hear you come through, and I hear you take the win. Walk us through that. What did that feel like, and where did you make the pass at? Because it had to have been late in the race.
Oh, dude, it was the most intense race of my life, I swear. So I get the whole shot, right? And I'm like, sick race, whatever, it's going good. And I'm kind of behind Rachel, riding behind her. And we get into a tighter section, and there's 2 lappers on the right and 2 tight trees, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm on her back tire, 3rd, 4th gear, going fast. And apparently she kind of misjudged some lappers. They came in front of her. She came to a dead stop. And I went flying into her back end. And I flip over the bars. We're freaking out. What the hell just happened? And so Brandy gets by us. And then as soon as we're taking off, Taylor's right behind us. So I'm shitting myself. I'm dude, this went from a solid race. We're finally starting to break away. And then all together, boom, like that. So I'm just staying calm back there, doing my own thing. Kind of fight with Taylor and Archer for a little bit back there, and then we get our shit together. And then, yeah, I get to the last lap, and I got a pit board that says minus 15, and I was oh shit, oh, I got this. I was calm all day, which is very rare for me. So kind of all just put it together that day finally, and yeah, I caught Brandy, and I'm 4th gear tapped. I had this line that I was thinking about the whole lap. I knew where I wanted to pass her. Shifted to 4th, wide open, pass her, and everything's going good. And then we get into lappers again, and we literally swap back and forth for the next 2-3 miles. And I was this is super fun, but I'm so stressed out right now. And then yeah, so I think I got to 6 or 7, and I finally got the lead again. And kind of just chilled out, got around the lappers good, and then realized I just won, and I didn't know what to do. I was what do I do now? I was I've been waiting how many years for this, and I get through the checkers, and I'm dude, you just fucking won. What?
So when you pull off the track, does it immediately hit you that you just won your first race?
Definitely not. I think I was literally shocked, and I don't think it really hit me until Wednesday the next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then immediately after it hit me, I was okay, dude, you got to do it again. and then just started thinking about the next one, like.
Well, that's what I was wondering too. Now that you got the monkey off your back and you got that first win, does that make it easier for that to be the expectation every single weekend now that you know you can?
I mean, obviously, like, we're all racers and we all want to win, but like, it's like to put that pressure on yourself is like, it takes a lot out of you, like, so I'm kind of at the point where obviously I want to win, like, team wants to win. We know we can do it, but I needed to go into every weekend just like ready to do my best, and just like be there and think about, the championship, long run.
For sure. And speaking of the long run and speaking of the championship, with you plowing into Rachel and the sprocket thing happening with her, it ended up being obviously not her ideal race, and she didn't get the points coming out of it that she wanted. How long was it before you realized that you're now in the points lead? Well, you're tied with Taylor, but essentially you're in the points lead.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I didn't even know that. And then my mechanic, Steve, called me, and he's like, yeah, you're leading, like, the championship right now. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
so you didn't even know at the track?
No, I had no idea. So, like, to look at the points and to see where literally, like, 1 point separates the three of us, like, holy shit, dude. That's intense.
Yeah, it's insane. Especially it's been you three swapping all around between first, second, third, and sharing the podium together.
Literally all season.
So, what do we think? We got white plates this weekend?
Man, I need to call my mechanic and tell him to get those ordered because I totally forgot about that.
It's Wednesday.
I know. Hey, man, I've never been leading a championship before in GNCC. I'm going to have to give him a shout and tell him to get his shit together, I guess.
Yeah, you got a couple days to make sure that there's white plates on that motorcycle this weekend.
Yeah, I guess we need to.
But speaking of the new team, everything going on, you made a swap from brands, from teams over the off season. When did that whole thing come about? Like, when were you first approached by Trail Jesters, or kind of what was the timeline in making the change over to that Trail Jesters KTM team?
I think there were like 2 GNCCs left. I honestly don't remember like what month it was or anything, but it was like towards the end of the season, and Ross was like, hey, like, you need to come over here and we're gonna have a little talk. And I was like, okay, like, I don't know, maybe it's about 6 days, whatever,
Yeah.
So I kind of go over there and they're like, yeah, we want you. And he, like, the amount of the support that he's given me is like unreal. Like, I never thought I'd have this amazing support, and I have like the best team I could ever ask for. And yeah, like, things are awesome.
Heck yeah, it sounds like it. Obviously, it seems like you're gelling with the bike pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still trying to figure it out in like Northern Dirt. Like, honestly, I haven't really got to spend like a shit ton of time on it. Like, obviously, I was down south all winter in the sand. And basically seat time is me at the races, like, because during the week I don't ride a whole lot. Just trying to keep my body, going all season, because I literally race like every weekend between GNCC, Sprint Enduros, and then Loretta's. And then hopefully I'll be going to 6 days. So, yeah, it's a packed year.
It sounds like it. So you don't ride at all during the week?
Oh, no, I'll ride like once or twice during the week.
Okay. But
yeah,
other than that, is it training, bike riding, gym stuff? I mean, what's a typical week like for you?
Yeah, like Mondays, I normally will go for like a 30-minute spin, just like flush the body out from race weekend, and then get things cleaned up. And then Tuesday, I'll kind of go out and do like technique motos, stuff like that. Nothing heavy. And then Wednesday, we'll do like technique and then like 2 30-minute motos. And then Thursday, just packing up and getting ready to go to the race again.
Sweet. And then it's just a never-ending cycle through the end of the year.
Yeah, dude. Like, literally, I think the National Enduro in January, or the first race, whatever the first race was in January, I haven't stopped racing since then. And holy shit, dude.
It starts to add up.
Yeah, it starts to add up. That's for sure.
So, Camp Coker this weekend. You a big fan of Camp Coker or just another race?
It depends. Like, if it's super wet, definitely not a fan of it.
Yeah.
The mud holes freak me out.
There is no bottom to that place.
Yeah, definitely not. I've been stuck too many times there to enjoy it. But no, I super love that place if you count out the mud holes, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So last year, 3rd place in points. This year, right there in the mix with that top 3. Is there any different approach to how you're coming into the season last year versus this year, or has it always kind of been the same goal?
Yeah, no, it's always been the same goal, but working with Steve and Denise Hatch, they've helped me a lot, just like on the mental side, knowing like I belong there, and you know, just putting everything together was the biggest thing, I think.
So is training with Steve Hatch and them, is that new for this year?
Yeah, this is my first year working with like an off-road coach, and having Denise helping with like the mental side, and yeah, just keeping me straight.
So how does that work? Is that like remote stuff or over the phone, or are they there with you during the week when you're training?
Yeah, no, we just talk. We text all the time. They're always available to call. Yeah, they just have my back, you know?
Sweet. Yeah, Steve's a super cool guy. See him, he's like one of the biggest fans of off-road. Like you see him at a track, like he's always smiling or always filming something. Like he's just stoked to be at the races. I think it's cool.
Yeah, he literally runs around, cheers for everybody. Like he is doing the most.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing I want to talk to you about is how did you become the coolest person in off-road? Because you're out there with Travis Pastrana, you're racing pit bikes, you're wearing pit Vipers. What's going on here? I need some details. How did all this come about?
I just like having fun. I enjoy my job, and I enjoy life. So that's all. That's the recipe, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did a backflip at Travis's. I've raced a couple pit bike races with the boys. They're freaking wild. And yeah, Pit Viper's been supporting me big time. They do so much for me. I'm so grateful to like be supported by such a rad company like them. And yeah, I might be doing a pit bike race. Might not. I don't know. I got to talk to the guys and see what they have to say, but watch out for that.
Dang. Keep our eyes peeled. So the backflip thing, did you beat Stu Baylor to dirt to doing the first backflip to dirt? How did that end up?
There's something in the works. I can't talk about it, but just know I will be doing one before Stu, and I hope he hears this.
Okay, so not yet, but plans to.
Yeah, I do plan to, but that's all I'm saying.
Dang it. All right, see, now part of me wants to delve into this, see what I can get out of you, but I'll respect the confidentiality of it. We'll move along past it, but I can't wait to see. Whenever it does come out, let me know. We'll promote it.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. You'll know.
So the Travis thing. I know Becca Sheets was down there. She was your teammate with the pit bike race and everything. How did that come about? Like, how did you meet Travis, and how did that go from meeting him to hanging out at his house and being buddies?
Yeah, so I think he messaged Becca on Instagram, actually, and was like, hey, we're doing this pit bike race. We want a female team. And Becca was
real
like...
Real quick, before or after Becca dusted him in Florida?
So this was all before. That was all, like, part of the plan on our schedule, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he DMs Becca and is, like, telling her, like, all this shit. And she's like, yeah, like, I have the perfect teammate in mind. And she mentioned me. So it was pretty rad. That's basically how it all started. And then, yeah, he came to, what race was that? Was it Ironman?
I don't remember now.
I think it was. But yeah, like the plan was they race us. We beat them, obviously. That's the plan. So I didn't beat Ryan, actually, which is a bummer. But I think he might be trying to come to a GNCC at the end of the season. So then I'll wax his ass then.
There you go. But then now he's got an excuse to fall back on. So you got to make sure, just get him on camera saying he's 100% so he doesn't have an excuse.
Oh, this is true. I will do that. Noted. But yeah, so basically the plan was they come race the GNCC. We all hop in a tour bus. We drive to Wyndham's house, and then that's when it all started. So we get to Wyndham's, and dude, we went out to the track. It's like we raced Sunday, drove all night there in the tour bus, got there, and it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we're about to start racing. And we, like, go out, look at the track before practice, and
Damn.
I'm literally shitting my pants, dude. Like, the jumps were unreal, like for no reason. And oh my God. So basically after Wyndham's, all the guys were just freaking stoked. They were like, no way you just went out and hit all those jumps. And I honestly have no idea what got in me. But yeah, I was on crack, I think, that week. Just sent things that I have no reason to be hitting, especially during freaking GNCC season. But yeah, I just like saw an opportunity and I was like, you know what? You only live once. And I just freaking sent it. And everyone was stoked about it. And yeah, so we've been in touch ever since, basically. We're just buddies now.
That is awesome. I can't even fathom how cool of an experience that must have been.
Oh, and it's like, I don't know. I never had like time to sit down and realize like I was literally with Travis Pastrana, like all the Nitro guys, like everything was so hectic that week. Like I never got to like really sit back and just take it all in, you know? Like, but yeah, it was pretty freaking cool.
Damn. So, talk to me about Pit Viper. You said that they help you out a lot, and I've seen like the promo videos and stuff that you've done for them, which I think are sick. I think it's awesome that you've kind of taken control of your social media and putting stuff out there like that and putting fun content out there. I think it's super cool. But how did all that come together?
Yeah, so one of the guys at Pit Viper was kind of like traveling with us, Jim York. He's freaking nuts, like coolest guy I think I've ever met. Next to Travis, obviously. But yeah, he was like just so pumped on like how I could ride a dirt bike and the shit that I was doing. And December, like when I was getting everything lined up for this season, he'd kind of like talked about supporting me or something, doing something. And I hit him up, and I don't know if I should tell this story because it's kind of not. It's probably frowned upon. You know, I'm supposed to be like this good professional racer, but oh well. So he calls me like 2 a.m. He's like at a bar with like all the guys and stuff, and he's like, "Where's your beer at?" And I was like, laughed at him. I was like, "Dude, it's like 2 a.m. I'm sleeping." And he's like, "Go get a beer and we'll talk about a contract." And I was like, all right. So went, found a beer, cracked it open, shotgunned a beer with the boys, and yeah, I got sponsored by Pit Viper, and yeah.
That might be one of the coolest sponsorship stories I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, they are the raddest companies like I've ever been sponsored by. Like, the emails I get from them, the texts I get from them, like, it's freaking awesome, dude.
That's so cool, and it's cool to see like with the Pit Viper thing. I mean, it's kind of an industry thing, but it's also like an outside end of the industry thing at the same time. Like bringing them to the off-road world. I think that's awesome that you're able to line that up and kind of explore down different avenues. It only builds your brand as a person, and your results and everything are absolutely adding into that as well. But it's cool that like with the Travis thing, with the pit bike thing, with everything you have going on, it's kind of building you up and getting you more out there so people can really see like how cool you are. Because until people talk to you at the races and stuff, I'm sure that until you started getting on the podium all the time, it was kind of hard for people to like see where you came from and really learn more about you.
Right. Yeah, no, totally. I agree. So it helps me out big time. And Ashley Filick actually is my teammate too. She just got picked up by Pit Viper, so that's pretty badass. You know, because when I was like 8-10 years old, I thought she was like the coolest thing in the world. So now to like be on like the same team, you know, with her is pretty cool.
Dang, that's awesome. So going all the way back to that, how did you get involved in GNCC? Like, how did you first start running the series and ultimately get to where you are now?
So Fred Andrews was my neighbor growing up, and so like I saw Nick Davis and Andrew DeLong like basically just be on his team all the time and grow up watching them race. And Fred like always hounded me. He's like, "You need to come race GNCC." Like, just hounded me, never gave it up. And I think like 2013, I went and raced like the John Penn or Powerline Park or something like that in Ohio. And I was like, okay, this is actually pretty sweet. And then I think I raced like 2 years, 14, 15. I won the girls class, the championship both years, and then moved to Super Mini. And I was like the first female to win the boys Super Minis class. It took me a while, but I did it. And then, I don't know, after a while, it was just kind of too much racing moto and GNCC full-time. So I kind of decided to put GNCC on the back burner and go back to moto full-time. And then, so let's see, 2017, after Loretta's, I was like, honestly, kind of ready to be done racing because me and my dad had some issues and just things weren't great. And so 2017 December, right before like the season for 2018, Fred called me and he was like, hey, like, do you want to come race GNCC's WXC for gas? And I was like, I literally like laughed at him. I was like, really? Like, that's funny. And it was kind of like a last-ditch effort to, you know, keep on racing dirt bikes. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have fun, see where it goes. So, like, to see where I'm at right now, just on that one decision I made to just want to go have fun racing dirt bikes again is pretty crazy, you know? Like,
sounds like it's safe to say that your passion for racing has been ignited again.
oh, big time. Like, and I got to thank Fred, you know, like, he's done so much for me my entire career and kind of has gotten me to this point, you know? Heck
yeah. No, that's awesome. And he's a super cool guy. And it's cool to see you on the Babbitt's team, but then, like you said, making the transition to this year. But I got to ask you, and I'm sorry if you don't want to talk about it, just tell me. But I'm just wondering, how in the world did the whole TM thing come about? Because that was like if you gave me a list of bikes to choose to see you riding, or anyone in the WXC class riding, I think the TM, I don't even know if it would be at the bottom. I don't know if I would have even wrote it on there.
Oh, all right.
Well, no, not anything bad about them. Who else has rode a TM at a GNCC in a pro class?
Yeah, man. I'm just here trying new things, all right?
I know. That's what Pit Viper, backflips at Pastrana's, TMs. I'm trying to figure out where all this comes from.
Yeah, so no, actually, my second year on Gas, local dealer in Dover, he was a TM dealer as well. So after I kind of split with Gas, I was like trying to figure out what I was going to do. And he was like, you know what? Like, let me give TM a call. Because he knew the importer, obviously, because he's a dealer. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, so he was like, well, he kind of gave me an offer. He's like, you can fly out to California, test some bikes and see what you want to ride. So I was like, you know what? Like, this is my option. Take it or leave it. So I took it and ran with it. And, yeah, it was different, but it was a solid bike for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, you did well on that bike too. I didn't mean that in a negative way whatsoever. It's such an unfamiliar brand, and I thought it was cool to see you bringing it over and riding it at a GNCC.
Yeah, it was pretty badass to race a 144, but pretty rough against the 250s at some tracks.
Yeah, I could imagine. But Korie, I thank you so much for your time. This was cool. It kind of came together last minute, so I appreciate you working with me. And like I said, couldn't be more thankful for your time. Better get those white plates by this weekend. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I better. You need to call my mechanic. You tell him.
All right, we'll call him out on here. We already did that, so now we're going to call him behind the scenes and say, hey, let's make it happen.
Get on it.
All right, well, thank you so much, and good luck this weekend. We'll see you out there.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep.